You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 91. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Throughout the last few months, I have been sharing my journaling theories whenever I do a presentation for a small group or in networking, or even just when I talk with people one-on-one about if they are a journaler and if they do journal regularly or just sometimes or whatever their own journaling situation is. And I have some theories about types of journalers. So my question for you today is, what type of journaler are you? I'm going to tell you the 3 types that I think exist, and then I'll match those 3 types with some of the journals and notebooks that I have available for sale. This week marks the 6-month anniversary of the launch of the Journal and Notebook Shop. So that is a 6-month span of creating and designing and promoting journals and notebooks and workbooks and diaries. And it has just been so fun and so interesting, and I have learned so much. And if you are curious or interested, if you want to hear some of the behind the scenes information and some of the details and the data and the numbers, or if you want to hear anything about what I have learned in the first 6 months, or what I have done or created or earned or any of this, just let me know and I will create an episode just with the behind the scenes about the Journal and Notebook Shop. So if I get at least, let's say, 5 questions about the behind the scenes, then I can put together an episode answering those 5 or more questions and sharing some of the details. So email me at hi@bexb.org with your nosy questions that I can answer on the episode. And you can also message me on social media or just tell me, text me, call me, however you usually contact me and let me know. But for today's episode, I want to share with you my theories of the 3 types of journalers. And I want to tell you something new that I am starting in support of all types of journalers. And before I even start by breaking down what I believe the 3 types of journalers are, I will just share with you that I have been all 3 of these types in recent years. And I was fine and content in all 3 of them. So I don't think I had any resistance when I was in any one specific one of these types or categories. So I am not sharing this as if it's a hierarchy. I'm not suggesting that you should move from one level to the next. And the goal is certainly not to get to some kind of highest level. I don't think it works that way. I don't think that's the case. I do like to categorize and organize things to explain them, and I also like the idea of recognizing that not everyone is the same. I know not everyone needs or wants the same things. Different people have different preferences and needs. And organizing people into one of 3 types has really helped me in thinking about the kinds of journals that I create and promote. So I will be curious where you think you fit in. And as I have given this presentation to different groups, I've also heard people tell me mid-presentation, oh, actually, now that you describe it, I don't think I'm that type. I think I'm this type. So I am curious if you will hear yourself described in one or more of these descriptions, and if you will be interested. But I'm not suggesting it. I'm just sharing it. So if you're going to be interested in changing the type of journaler that you are. So here are the 3 types of journalers. I think we have journal lovers, journal curious, and non-journalers. So right away, without giving you any additional descriptions or information about those three types, do you self-identify as a journal lover, a journal curious, or a non-journaler? Who are you right now? It might also be interesting to note why you consider yourself either a journal lover, journal curious, or a non-journaler. And then the third question that you could ask yourself is, do you like that label for yourself? Do you like being a journal lover? Or are you okay with being journal curious? Or are you completely content as a non-journaler? First, let's talk about journal lovers. I consider a journal lover someone who has a dedicated, regular journaling practice. Notice I did not say that it's daily. In my opinion, in my life as a journal lover, I am currently journaling daily, and I think it is the best way for me right now. Here's why. I recognize so many benefits as a journal lover. My journaling practice lets me see patterns in my life, in my circumstances, in my thinking. Just this morning, I was doing some reflection and comparing this year, 2021, to last year, 2020, and the change in my mood and demeanor and in my life situation. And as I was writing and thinking, I was noticing some different patterns, and I started to wonder if my mood and my demeanor is tied more closely to the seasons and the weather and the temperature than maybe I've given credit to, or maybe that I've seriously considered in the past. This pattern might be new. My mood and my demeanor might not have always been this closely tied to temperature or weather as it seems to be right now. But because of my daily journaling practice, I am now recognizing some common themes and seeing some patterns and starting to consider that this might be a pattern. Another benefit that I get because I journal daily is that I have created the expectation for myself and the space for myself to write my thoughts down without judgment most of the time. Sometimes I definitely judge my thoughts, but most of the time it's just about writing down what I'm thinking and feeling and noticing and wondering about. Writing without judgment helps me create distance from what I am thinking. It just gives me a little bit of objectivity, either in the moment as I notice what I am currently writing, or even with the distance of time if I flip back to what I wrote last week, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, a year ago. I can certainly feel that time distance and what causes me to be so much more objective about what I wrote. I also see the journaling practice as a daily personal self-care ritual. Self-care has been a really hot topic throughout 2020, and now I'm still hearing it even more in 2021. Maybe it's just in the circles that I am currently traveling in, but I do hear a lot of discussion and questions about self-care rituals and routines and how we take care of ourselves. And it's not just all bubble baths and spa days. I never thought it was, but maybe thinking of self-care in visible material ways is what our brain immediately goes to when we say self-care. You can have self-care just through a daily or even just a frequent journaling practice. My journaling practice also supports my gratitude practice because it gives me an intentional way to be grateful every day. There are so many benefits from having a dedicated gratitude practice. That actually might deserve its own episode, so let me know if you want to hear more about that. I also love journaling because I use my journal pages as a place to collect my brainstorms and my ideas. It's where I can write my quote unquote not fully formed concepts that are just kind of circling around in my brain that I do want to capture. And I love to write down my brainstorms and ask myself further questions. The thing that I love the most is being able to come back to those brainstorms and see what I was thinking and get reminded of all the fun little tangential ideas that I had or some really good detail that I didn't want to forget. So having it written it down helps me remember. And the best part of my day mentally, creatively and cognitively is the morning. I definitely feel more like myself and more in alignment in the morning. And I am just so happy that I'm able to use the best part of my day doing the thing that I think I do the best, which is journaling and self-reflection. I definitely think journaling is one of my top talents. Isn't that so interesting to think that one of my top talents doesn't even have anything to do with anyone else? It can be something that's really just for me. But now, to argue with myself a little, I could also say that even though my top talent only has to do something for me, I could make the opposite statement that because I'm sharing it with you, talking about journaling may inspire or motivate you to give you a fresh perspective that might cause you to want to journal. Even though I think my journaling practice is completely self-serving for me, just by sharing it with you, it might help you to get some of the benefits if you decide to give it a try, or if you double down on your own current journaling practice. This is actually how I decided to finally make regular journaling a priority for myself. Just in an anecdotal way, I have heard so many of my favorite teachers and mentors and people who I respect and follow talk about journaling. The two main things that I hear mentors and teachers talk about are journaling and meditation. And I have not personally cracked the code for myself yet on meditation, but it keeps on popping up for me from different sources, so I think that might be the next practice that I invest in for myself. I hear people talking about meditation and journaling, and both of these have been studied and researched and peer-reviewed and written about and shared. We know that journaling reduces stress and anxiety. It is a tool that can help you strengthen your memory. It improves your emotional function. It can also improve your immune system. We know that many things in life can help reduce stress and anxiety and improve your systems and functions, like exercise and meditation, having a healthy diet of whole foods, and drinking plenty of water and getting enough rest. All of this can help. And I just think, well, if I get to choose which of those remedies I'm going to use, I choose journaling, and a few of those other ones too. If journaling is going to give me those benefits, I will take it. I definitely want to spend my time journaling, and I want to design my day around my journaling practice so that I can get those benefits. Hopefully, now I have given you some of my own anecdotal reasons, as well as the peer-reviewed, research-based scientific benefits of journaling. And maybe, if you're not already a regular journaler, maybe you are a little bit more interested in it or a little more curious than you were 13 minutes ago. So, in full disclosure about my own routine, I don't currently use one of my own creations for my morning journaling yet. That might change in the future, but in early 2020, I bought a whole stack of notebooks that I like to use because they're all uniform, they're the same size and color, and my journaling is down to a well-organized routine right now. So that's one of the reasons why I have not switched my morning journaling practice over from my Office Max composition graph paper notebook to one of my own personally designed journals. I do use my own creations for other types of journaling and note-taking. And all of this is to say, I don't expect you to use one of mine. Obviously, you can. You can use whatever journal you want or whatever one you have. If you don't have one yet and you do want to check out one of the journals in my journal shop, there are a few that I would recommend for a frequent, regular journaling practice. I have a few different gratitude journals that prompt you with 3 little bullet points. Then you just write 3 things each day that you're grateful for, and then it gives you additional space for you to write out long form if you choose. Some people have shared with me that they don't need the long form additional space for their gratitude practice. Some other people have shared that sometimes they use it and sometimes they don't. There's no right or wrong, and there's no pressure either way. I also have a number of prompted journals that you can check out. Frequently, people tell me that the reason why they don't write is because they don't know what to write. So if you find yourself in that situation, you could get one of the prompted journals. There are many different versions and themes. For example, my mother's name is Rose, and there is a Rose-themed prompted journal that gives you all sorts of common expressions and poetry lines and phrases all about roses. So that might be a fun way to journal regularly with a little bit of a rose theme. I also have prompted journals that deal with being a highly sensitive person, and there is a journal that gives prompts based on the phases of the moon. So if you want to journal along with the different moon phases throughout the lunar cycle, you could choose a prompt that goes along with whatever moon phase we're currently in. And of course, I also have different kinds of blank journals. There are dot graph journals in case you are interested in doing any bullet journaling. Have you seen this type of journaling? People use the dot graph pages to create customized layouts and agendas and boxes to check and all kinds of creative ideas and designs. And some people use dot graph journals to create their own daily planners or to-do lists or check boxes. And there are just so many things that you could do if you feel like being creative. You could look up some of the examples of what people create on dot graph paper and then get one of my journals that has that kind of interior. And I also have a few journals that are graph paper, since that's the way I like to journal as my daily journaling practice. Let's move on to the second type of journaler. Maybe you find yourself in this category. I'm calling it journal curious. This refers to someone who recognizes the benefits of journaling. They have heard of the benefits from other people, their teachers, their coaches, on podcasts. They've heard all the stories of people who have experienced the firsthand benefits during their own journaling practice. They've read about the benefits. They see the impact that journaling has on journal lovers, and journal curious people believe it, and they are curious about those benefits and the changes in their lives for themselves, but for some reason, they just haven't made the shift from non-journaler to journal lover. So there are a few common reasons that I hear about why people don't journal regularly. Maybe they think they don't have time to journal frequently. Maybe they don't know what to write about, or it is possible that they have tried to journal before and they just never were able to make it into a habit. Maybe they are someone who likes to be more spontaneous than routine, and they don't want to feel confined to have to journal every day at the same time. And sometimes people think that they shouldn't prioritize the time that they would spend on writing for themselves over other things that they think they need to do in their lives. A lot of people have told me that they don't want to journal, even though they believe in the benefits, because they are very concerned that someone else will read their journal and use what they wrote against them. So most of the people that have told me that concern then go on to tell me that it has already happened to them at one time in their past when they have had someone who found their journal and read it, and it just felt like such a breach of their privacy, and it just felt like such a betrayal that they decided in a protective measure to never journal again. That actually did happen to me. I don't know that it was that dramatic, but I did decide not to journal anymore after my privacy was breached. And I did share a little bit of that story on an episode last year when I talked about my journaling journey. So I will post a link to that episode in the show notes for this episode so that you can go back and check it out. So these are just some of the reasons why people have shared with me that even though they agree with and they believe in the benefits of journaling, they just don't currently journal. So I've come up with a few different ways that you can, if you want, shift from journal curious to journal lover. One of these ways, and it's been confirmed, this theory of mine has been confirmed by a few different people that I've spoken with, is that regular journaling is about making it a priority. This was definitely how I shifted from journal curious to a journal lover. I liked the idea of journaling daily. I saw that other people did it and got great results from it, but I had that privacy concern, and I didn't necessarily have the right time in my daily structure in order to journal every day. And then I decided it was just too good not to do it. and I just wanted those results that I saw in other people for myself. Specifically, it was from Eileen Shu of Lavendaire. I have a whole episode about her as well, so you can go back and listen to how much she motivated me and inspired me to become a journal lover. So I finally decided that I would make writing every day a priority, and I built my schedule around my journaling practice so that I would have time for it. For some people, not everyone, but I really just think that fully deciding and investing the time and the commitment is possibly a prerequisite or maybe even a requirement to getting this benefit. Just decide. Just say to yourself, I will make time for this every day, just like I make time to brush my teeth and take a shower and prepare food for myself and exercise, whatever it is that you do every day that you would feel strange or uncomfortable. By not doing it, decide that same level of commitment to journaling. Maybe the decision and prioritization is not your issue, though. Maybe you have given yourself time every day and you sit down and then you just stare at the blank page. So maybe what would be more helpful for you is having some daily journaling prompts or maybe some accountability. So I have some suggestions and some experiments that I'm now doing to help with some of the ideas of what to journal about, as well as that outward accountability. One thing that I've done is I have created a journaling and friendship group. So this is available both on Meetup and on Facebook. And the idea of the group is that sometimes it really is easier to do an activity when we have a scheduled time and we know other people are doing it at that same time. And there's an expectation that we basically are telling ourselves and our brains. So this is when I'm doing it, and because it is scheduled, we're not going to get out of it. We're not going to use that time for something else. So that was the reason that I decided to have some public journaling. And it's going to be in this form of this journaling and friendship group. And it's been really interesting and lovely in the few sessions that I've done already to see the reactions of my journal curious friends. Once we both put our pens down and come up out of our journaling session, we check in with each other and say, how was that? And I've heard people say, wow, I feel lighter. I've heard people say that it was such a long time they didn't expect 20 minutes to feel that long. I've had people say that they made a breakthrough in just those 20 minutes of writing together. So this is something that I am experimenting with here for the rest of 2021. I've created a journaling and friendship group. It's both on Facebook and Meetup. And on the Facebook group, I'll be posting daily journaling prompts. So in case you need an idea of something to journal about, and instead of having an accountability factor of needing to check in or report if you did or didn't do it, this group is using kind of like an optional accountability where you can just use the emojis that Facebook provides on the post just to mark if you've done it or not, if you want, totally optional. Other people might check to see. You might just use it as a personal reward system after you've journaled to go in and mark with the emoji. It's kind of like public, but also very low commitment accountability. And we also have a way to come together and journal together and just meet for friendship too, at least once or twice a month, either on Zoom or in person. So like I mentioned, I've done a few public journaling sessions so far, and I really like them. And it seems that the people who joined really like the experience as well. So I am going to continue to experiment with this and see how it goes. In fact, the next in-person journaling session that we're doing is going to be a week from tomorrow. If you're listening to this in real time, it's going to be in downtown Chandler at 10:30 on a Saturday morning. And I will link some of the details in case you would like to join us on Saturday, October 9th, 2021 at 10:30 to get together to journal together and have a little bit of accountability and then some encouragement. And of course, we can also talk and get to know each other. We don't have to talk about journaling. We can if we want, but we can also talk about whatever we want in the friendship portion of the journaling and friendship meetup. So if you're on Facebook, look for the Facebook group called Journaling and Friendship to start getting the daily prompts and the meeting information for the public journaling sessions. And if you are journal curious, but you're not really ready to journal or to start a daily journaling routine, I have some specific journals that might help you ease into a more regular journaling practice. I also encourage the idea of journaling periodically, for example, weekly, monthly, annually. And I also love to talk about journaling sporadically based on different events. So if you're curious about journaling weekly, I would recommend that you get the list journal. This is kind of a hybrid between list making and journaling because there are 52 prompts. So you could choose to write one list a week, maybe every Sunday or maybe every Friday night after the end of your work week. Whatever time or day during the week that makes the best sense for you, you sit down, open the book, and it offers you a topic to make a list about. And then you make a list of 10 things. And I love this journal and I love this concept so much because the first 3 or 4 can usually just spill right out of you so easily. But then when you get down to number 7, 8, 9, wow, you are really searching in your brain to come up with the full list of 10 things that have to do with that prompt. And it causes you to dig into your brain. After you've made your list of 10 things, there's also space for you to write about what came up for you or what you noticed or what new realization you have now that you've made that list of 10. And I share a lot of ideas about periodic and sporadic ways to journal in an episode last year. So if you are journal curious and want to hear those suggestions, go to this episode's show notes at bexb.org/3 types. That's the number 3 and then the word types all squished together. So 3 TYPES. And you can see the links to all the other episodes that I've been referring to today. Plus, you can get a link to the Journaling and Friendship Facebook group to join. I haven't forgotten about my third type of journalers, the non-journalers. Hopefully you're still listening and I haven't lost you with all this journaling talk, even if you don't consider yourself someone who loves or who is curious about journaling. Are you still a non-journaler? Or maybe even just in the past 20 minutes or so, you have shifted into being a little bit more journal curious or still content with your non-journaling status. Either way, it's fine. I have no expectation that anyone who's currently a non-journaler needs to change their type. You can certainly stay a non-journaler. Just so you think this episode isn't totally leaving you out, I wanted to let you know that I do make other types of notebooks and workbooks that really don't have anything to do with journaling. Plus, if you don't mind writing things down, but you just don't identify yourself as someone who journals, I have some ideas for you to consider. You can still get some of the journaling benefits that I mentioned earlier, and you don't have to refer to it as journaling. You can call it doing a thought download, a brain dump. You can tell yourself you're writing a story. That might help with the privacy concern too if you change the names to protect the innocent. And you don't have to write in paragraphs and sentences. List making is very powerful, and it is so easy to read when you come back to it later. So I do have a few books that are specifically designed for non-journalers. Most obviously, there is a notebook called The Journal for People Who Hate Writing. It gives you ideas for making lists, doodling, mind mapping, drawing pictures, and all sorts of different things. And I also have a notebook that's just for mind mapping, making outlines, and doodling. And there is a whole selection of notebooks that don't have anything to do with personal development or self-reflection. You could get yourself a wine tasting or beer tasting notebook. There are review notebooks for you to review so many parts of your life, like favorite books, movies, TV shows, restaurants, makeup products. And there's a book to keep track of what gifts you can give to your friends and family. There's also a book to track what you eat if you're trying to eat more intentionally. I could go on, but we've already been going for so long already. So one thing I'll say to my non-journaling friends, since I am not trying to change your mind, you probably have people in your life who do like to write or take notes or make lists. So all of my journals and notebooks make great, easy, and thought-provoking re-giftable gifts. I'm serious. If you have received a notebook from me as a gift, I fully encourage you to re-gift it if it's not your style. So I also suggest you to mention the regifting option if you end up giving someone else a notebook or journal or workbook. These travel well, they're easy to wrap, they won't spill or spoil. I've never heard of anyone having any allergies to journals or notebooks. So basically, I'm pretty sure these make a perfect gift for everyone you know. from an acquaintance all the way up to your closest soulmate. So that's it. Just to check in one last time. What type of journaler are you? A journal lover, journal curious, or non-journaler? Whatever type you are, make sure to go to beckspeed.org/3types. That's the number 3, TYPES, to see the links to all the episodes that I referred to and get the link to the new Facebook group that I just started for journaling and friendship, where you can get a daily journaling prompt and find out about our journaling meetups. And even if you don't plan to write, it would be interesting just to get the journaling prompt. It's like a new question to think about every day. And of course, you can find links to some of the journals that I've recommended today and a link to the notebook and journal shop. Remember, if you want me to do a behind-the-scenes episode about my first 6 months of designing and creating journals and notebooks, let me know what questions I should answer on that episode. Thank you so much for listening today and staying here until the end. I hope you enjoyed it. I will talk with you next week. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at beckspeed.org to see how we can work together.